Welcome to the Scarred Sons podcast, where we dive into scars of life and the outcomes they shape. This podcast is a space for honest conversations about my journey, the lessons learned, the struggles endured, and the growth that followed, geared towards helping other sons with scars. We'll explore topics like personal development, mental and spiritual health, and the path to becoming the best version of yourself. Let's navigate these challenges together, one story at a time. Let's dive in. The views expressed on this podcast are based on my personal experiences and insights. I am not a licensed therapist, counselor, or medical professional, and the content shared is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or guidance. Please consult a qualified professional for advice tailored to your specific needs. I am not responsible for any decisions or outcomes resulting from the use of this content. What's up to all my Scar Sons out there? I'm your host, Ty. Before we dive in, I want you to know this is a safe space. I'm not here as someone who has it all figured out. Just a man willing to speak his truth. And if you carry scars, welcome home. Today, I want to talk about what is a scarred son. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first question I have is, when did I first feel emotionally alone as a child? And hopefully these questions will get you to understand what a scarred son is. Before I answer that question, I'll give you a little brief synopsis. I know you heard a little bit about it in the intro, but to me, a scarred son can be a multitude of things, a multitude of past experiences that a son has experienced that just left a scar behind. Doesn't always have to be super duper traumatic. It doesn't always, I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but what I mean by that is, there's nothing too small and there's nothing too big that can create a scar, because the way you feel about something that happened to you, you're entitled to. So with that being said, we'll get into the first question, which is, when did I first feel emotionally alone as a child? There's, I would say, multiple moments, but I feel like the biggest moment when I really started to feel emotionally alone is, for one, I'll give you a brief backstory. I lived in my grandparents' home. My grandpa, my grandmother, and my mother also lived there. We moved out for a short period of time, but we ended up coming back. And so I was never in a household with my mom and dad, but I had a mom and dad because I had my grandparents. And so my mom worked a lot, my dad worked a lot, and then they're also trying to figure out life too, right? So we'll get to that later on another day, but just trying to let you understand my upbringing and what the dynamic looked like. So that's what it was. My dad would come and get me on weekends, and that's how we would spend our time together. But the moment I felt like emotionally alone, because I mean, you have your grandparents in the home, and some people can say, well, you had people there, but it's not the same as your parents, right? They do the best they can. My dad would tell me he would come and get me, and I'm sure he had pure intentions to come, and a lot of times he wasn't able to make it for whatever reason. And I remember vividly on one day where I used to always go to the front door of my grandparents' home, and so there was a screen door attached to it. So you got a screen door, and you got the door you can walk in. Well, my grandma would allow me to leave the main door open, and so the sun, the wind, breeze, everything can come through the house, but I can see out because I was anticipating my dad pulling up. And so on those Saturday mornings, that's where my spot was until he came, or sometimes he didn't, but I was going to camp out at that front door. And I realized, like, my mother was trying to protect me from the constant or times when he wouldn't show up. And I would bawl out, I would cry, I would call everybody I could think of to figure out, where's my dad? Like, I'm trying to spend some time with my dad, because I had a fantastic time with my dad. We had amazing moments when they happened. But the letdowns were hard. And when my mom didn't have the tools to tell me what was happening, she would use strong language towards me and just basically saying, why are you crying? You knew he was going to come, like that type of thing. It didn't help me in the moment. And I was like in the middle of not one parent being able to comfort me and like tell me what the heck is going on. Like, hey, he's not going to make it today. Like, I didn't find out until he just didn't come on those occasions. And then you obviously know when it starts getting dark outside, all right, it's a wrap, right? That's when I really was like, okay, my mom don't have the tools to kind of share with me or comfort me in these moments. And obviously my dad is dealing with what he's dealing with. And my grandparents, they don't really have that type of experience that I knew of to be able to comfort me. Instead of just, what they would do was just take my mind off it, but no one was really explaining or telling me, giving me like tangible information that I could piece together in my mind why this would happen when it would, right? So I would say that's one of the first moments. There's many more, but that's when I kind of really hit home, because no one had the tools to really draw me in and be like, it's okay. You know, he's dealing with something, or had something came up. He's not going to be able to make it, but let's do this. You know, you can get with your dad, let's do this. And my dad never really explained anything to me until I was, I would say like mid 20, early 30s, I think is when we finally had a talk. So it's a long time where you go and you don't really have a place to be emotional with either parent. So that was that. The next question I got is, what moment made me realize my childhood wasn't normal? I don't think I really realized that until I was older. And I started having friends, not even that many friends. I started having a friend that I would share these type of experiences with. And not until that point that because everybody else had parents in the house, I guess that's one thing. I was like, dang, well, that really would make me feel like this isn't normal, because my cousins, some of them had their parents in the household. I didn't. So that's one thing, but I didn't really understand that dynamic until I was able to have real conversations with folks and be like, oh, okay. Because what is really normal? Like, I think it's normal is what your situation is. And I don't think there's a norm for any particular person, because normal can be so many different things. So the next question is, what scar still speaks the loudest today? Honestly, man, the scar that still speaks is the missing emotional connection with my parents. You can really be lost in this world, and it's different from a couple different standpoints, right? Because my people are still alive and well. It's just a matter of they don't have the tools and experiences to be able to join me in where I'm at mentally, and they have their own battles. So I'm really at a point where I'm not frustrated with my parents to the point where I want them to explain themselves from the childhood issues. My frustration is more so, what are y'all doing about it now? And getting silence is the biggest frustration. So that scar speaks very loudly currently, and even through therapy, but it's a matter of, as I understand it, it's just honestly just you have to come up with or replace that love that you're getting or seeking with someone who wants you. It goes back to just being in the rooms that celebrate you. And it may not be a lot of rooms. It may not be as many as you once had. But if you are unable to make me have any type of personal time or make me any type of a priority, now I'm finally at the point where, like, okay, I get it. Like, that's the reality. This is where we are. So kind of have to move with that. And then you just have to be able to, what I'm doing is reallocating those moments and the moments that I want to share and the experiences that I want to have with someone else, like my wife, like my brother, and then people I meet that are on this journey with me. That's kind of what I'm doing to deal with that currently. Last question of today on this episode is going to be this. If my pain had a voice, what would it say? This is funny because my therapist actually had me write out some letters to my parents, but the letter was to have the perspective of the child that missed out on those experiences, those outings, those times, those moments. If my pain had a voice, it would simply say, it would speak to the son in me that missed or didn't have the things that he wished he could have had. And it would be to say, hey, young scarred son, be proud of who you are. Don't be ashamed of the experiences that you had in your past, because they made you who you are today. And even though you're still struggling or have challenges or have your days, and when you're pulled back into that kid's body or that child's body, Understand that there's a bigger mission. There's a bigger plan because I'm continuously waking up. I woke up today. And so I think it's a matter of just finding the purpose. We don't want to give the pain power. So I want to be very cautious on how I answer this question, because I can say, oh man, well, my pain telling me I need this and it needs that. But it would be pulling from the son that was scarred years and years and years ago, over 30 years ago. And still walking around with him, I need to tell him it's okay to allow new experiences into your life, and the people that you'll have those experiences with, it's okay if their faces aren't familiar. It's okay if the places aren't familiar. It's okay when Thanksgiving comes, the table, the house, the structure, the decorations, the pictures on the wall. It's okay if they change. It's okay if the streets are different. It's okay if the air smells different. But a lot of times, and not to date this, but we're coming up on Thanksgiving. This season of life for some, especially a scarred son, can be very difficult. And so I want to give you the power and to give you the perspective to know that just because things don't look like they once did or don't feel like they once did, we're in a period of growth. We're in a period of finally getting what we wanted back then, because now we can create what we wanted that holiday to be. Now, obviously, you may not be able to pick the people up and put them in the room that you want, but you can still create an atmosphere to give you what you need during this time. I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you for joining me on the Scarred Sons podcast. Yeah, man, just leave some likes, leave some comments, subscribe, join me on this journey. I'm not perfect, but I'm just here just to speak raw, and hopefully it lands with you. Hopefully it helps you in some way, form, or fashion. And if you aren't a scarred son, I hope that you can share it with someone that can find some light at the end of their tunnel, or in the middle of the tunnel, or if they just started entering the tunnel. Hopefully this can help you out, man. Love. Peace. Thank you for joining me on the Scarred Sons podcast. Remember, every scar tells a story, and every story has the power to inspire growth. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to reach out and share your journey. Don't forget to stay up to date with the podcast by liking, commenting, and subscribing wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at scarred.sons for more content and updates. Until next time, keep moving forward, keep healing, and remember, scars don't define you, they shape you. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.